Hello everyone. Continuing on from last video, the Bitcoin price is still going down. I don't see any reason why the trend should stop. So just continue to dollar cost average, and I think that it'll serve you well in the future. This person, article writer, editor person, thinks that Bitcoin still has a chance of becoming a risk-off asset. It's just basically a matter of time. What I thought was interesting about this article in particular is this graph right here, which shows the Bitcoin over the NASDAQ 100 stock index. So that's basically just how they relate to each other in terms of their price. And Bitcoin being the numerator, it being on top, having a positive over 0 or basically over 1 value is a very good thing. So being over 1 as this dotted line here shows that Bitcoin is outperforming the NASDAQ top 100 stock indexes. And then this blue shaded white line area behind it shows the 90-day Bitcoin 90-day volatility over the NASDAQ 100 stock index 90-day volatility. And you can see that it is below 1. So meaning that it is actually less volatile than Bitcoin is actually less volatile than the NASDAQ 100. And other interesting point is that the volatility has not been this low since 2020. And then also before that, it doesn't even show up on this chart when the last time, Bitcoin, the volatility was this low. But it does seem to get close down at the late end of 2016, early 2017 bit right there. We'll see. I don't know if I can find the other data of that chart, but still interesting to see. Moving on, this article says that somebody is blowing up, basically similar to 2008 and then 2020, basically because of a particular setup where there in the past 25 years, 2 days when the S&P futures were down 3% and the 10-year Treasury futures were also down 1%. That happened on October 9th, 2008 and March 18th, 2020. Earlier in March is when Bitcoin capitulated earlier than March 18th. If we go back to early 2020, stick with me. March, 12th. So it capitulated a whole week before this little metric showed up in 2020. So we may, if this recent drop in Bitcoin's price is an indicator of a capitulation drop, then that means that we should be done with the sideways trading, and we might actually have a chance to move up from here. But I'll never, knock cheap sats, so I continue to stack, regardless of whoever is blowing up. And guess who else is blowing up? Old person that doesn't understand crypto. Elizabeth Warren has questions for Fidelity for asking why they're allowing Bitcoin in 401k retirement plans. She clearly does not understand Bitcoin. So there's really, she just goes on and on about what her concerns are, and it's literally just because she does not understand how the technology works and functions. If she, God forbid, if she could actually set up her own node and run her own full Lightning Network node, and then, buy some Bitcoin, get used to owning a wallet and a hardware wallet, the differences between a soft and a hot and a hardware wallet, and a desktop wallet, all of those things. If she did the research and she read some more books, read the Bitcoin Standard, for God's sake, best thing out there. So she's either, and I would like to say that, most people, especially people that were voted into, Congress and the House are not, dumb people. I would like to think that, these are relatively intelligent people. So if I think that, then that means that she's, saying these things on purpose, like just trying to, rustle the leaves, and is either being paid by somebody or, is getting something from, dissing on Bitcoin as she does like to do. But again, old person who does not understand the technology, so her opinion literally does not matter. Just stop listening to her. if somebody could just sit her down in a corner on a chair and just like talk to her like she was a 5-year-old and explain the cryptoverse to her, or the cryptoverse, Bitcoin at the very least, then maybe we might have a chance of getting through to her. But it's literally like these are the kinds of people that have thought about one thing in one way, with one kind of perspective their entire lives, and they have no idea like how to even think about looking at other things differently with a different perspective. They're so rooted into things that they consider facts that are not actually facts, that help, that lead them down paths that it makes everyone else roll their eyes and have to, gasp at what they're saying. Like, I cannot believe we have people, in political power that literally do not understand this technology. It's like, if we did not have the internet and all of a sudden the internet came out, she would have questions about why people are investing in technologies in the internet, and she would be opposed to it because she doesn't understand it. So when you see somebody that literally like has these sort of dumb questions about why there's, they think it's risky to hold Bitcoin in retirement plans, you literally, I mean, for me personally, I just roll my eyes and I'm like, are we really this asset's been around for over 10 years. And we still have people that don't understand how it works. Like, God's sakes, people, you basically understand how cell phones work, do you not? Or do you even care if you know how cell phones work? Because you just take it as a utility and move on with it. All right, I'm rambling now, sorry. Okay, last article, 90% of Bitcoin central banks, 90% of central banks are exploring CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. This should come at no surprise to you. This is only as a method of control. It's to control the velocity of money and to control exactly what you can and cannot spend your money on, and when you can spend your money on those things, if you can spend it on those things at all. So, just reject what I and I think other people have postulated that might happen is that the Fed or other central bank, digital central banks will issue these CBDCs, say, hey, if you download this app and you use this wallet, we'll give you a free 1,000 CBDC units or something like that. And, everyone's going to flood into it because it's basically free money. And so that's how they're going to get you. Okay, well, now you have to, if you accept this, then you have to accept your paycheck through this CBDC app. And then, they probably won't touch it for a while just to get people hooked. And then all of a sudden, it'll be like, oh, the economy is doing bad. We need negative interest rates. And they will literally, the money will be programmed to leave your bank account and you will have no control over it. It'll be a negative monthly or weekly, daily. They could literally take it away from you by the minute if they so choose. So that, just stay away from CBDCs. It's going to be tempting. I swear they're going to have some sort of program out there. Some country is going to initiate some sort of CBDC program aside from China, because they're literally just shut off to the rest of the world. They're on their own thing. But there's going to be some countries out there, maybe even Argentina, that was recently rejected by the International Monetary Fund from using Bitcoin for having accepted money that Argentina needed to help repay back some of its loans, which is how the IMF traps countries into, and how, well, that's a whole other video. But like, essentially the IMF and, a lot of like the Bank of International Settlements and a lot of these, super global powers will go into these smaller countries, lend them lots of money. And when those countries manage that money poorly and they need more to help build out infrastructure, there will be terms in those loans where the IMF or the BIS or whomever it is will say, well, now we own this, this highway section and we're going to put up a toll road or something like that. Or we own this river that runs through this section of your country. Or we own so many acres of farmland on your country and we're going to use that for us now that we own that. That's part of us. You don't own, their government no longer owns that because their government owes that value to the IMF or something like that. So that's how the IMF, basically come in and steal in modern day practice, steal from, these, third world-ish countries. Like, they just print this money out of nowhere and then they come in and steal by basically giving the money that they printed out of thin air to these countries as like, a bolstering to help their economy or whatever, help build out in their infrastructure. And when it doesn't go right, then the IMF or the Bank of Internet or whomever it is comes in and says, well, since you can't pay back your loan, you've defaulted on your loan, and now based on the terms within that loan, we own X number of things, assets, resources within your country. Just understand, like, CBDCs will be no different than that. The Fed or your central bank will come in and they will take from you everything that you've lived and worked for. With this recent stock market decline, I'm actually concerned about, my parents' future. Like, I'm not able to take care of them at this point, and, I really would like to be able to. So that's why I, try and go into alternative investments, whereas, they are traditional investments. So maybe we're, as a whole, diversified enough to take care of each other. So that's just some thoughts that I had today. I hope y'all enjoyed. I'll see y'all next time.